Watts, we're standing here next to two immaculate Peugeot 406s. Tell us about them.
Well, these are the cars that competed in the British Touring Car Championship in 1998. This one here, next to me, is Tim Harvey's car, and the other one was Paul Radisich. They went to Australia to compete in the Melbourne Grand Prix support race, and Peugeot Australia wanted me to drive the ex-Harvey one. And I did, but the Melbourne race was cancelled. So therefore Peugeot Australia were now not interested. So I did 4 races, led the Australian Touring Car Championship, came home. The car sat there for another 15 years. I was at the Silverstone Classic in 2010, saw the Super Touring Car demonstration race. I thought, I'm going to phone up the guy in Australia and see if he's still got those cars.
And he had, obviously.
And he had. So I bought the whole lot back. I split the package with my daughter's godfather, Malcolm. He's the other car. He's got the Radisich car. And here we are today. I did a few races last year and the year before in mine. This is the first time Malcolm's dared to get into his.
And clearly you have a lot of historic racing experience and knowledge, but these cars very much float your boat, don't they?
Well, technically they're beautiful. I'm an engineer. I regard myself as a businessman and an engineer, so I appreciate nice engineering. This is the ultimate engineering. If there's the best way of doing something, it's done on these cars. Total no expense spared. So working on the car is a pleasure. It's like working on a Meccano set made of titanium with reamed bolts and reamed holes, and it's the ultimate. It's just beautiful engineering to work on and to play with. And when I say play with, we are still developing these cars. We're still thinking of ways of making them, getting the setup better, working on the setup and getting the continuing the development, which was ceased in 1999 in Australia.
So very much cars of their time and beyond in many ways, because they were very much cutting edge. How does that compare with your Allard, for example?
It doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. The Allard is a challenge to drive. It's fun to drive. You're sitting up there in the open air, surrounded by D-type Jaguars and C-type Jaguars and Ferraris and Maseratis, iconic cars of the period. And it also is an iconic car of the period. So it's a pleasure to sort of drive what was the ultimate car in about 1950. The Allards won lots and lots of races, third at Le Mans, because it was the ultimate car. My car did Silverstone, Prescott, rest and be thanked for hill climbs, Castle Combe, and also, and this wouldn't happen today on a modern sports car, it also did the Land's End Trial.
Well, that's quite a variation. But coming back to these lovely pair of Peugeots, how much work did you have to do to get them back to racing standards?
Basically, we've checked over the engines. We've rebuilt wheel hubs, brake cylinders. That's all, really, and given them a polish. But they were exactly as they finished. Well, as I finished racing mine in Australia. And as Malcolm's car, which is Paul Radisich's car, is exactly as it finished the final race at Silverstone here in 1998. So it was just a matter of checking all the seals and making sure everything was serviceable to take it out. They require a lot of work anyhow, these cars. There's nothing's built on the car to do 10,000 miles between services. They were designed to do a race, check it over. Do a test session, check it over. Everything is maybe more marginal on it than a road car, insofar as you do get bolts coming loose if you race them for 2 races instead of checking them out after 1 race.
Obviously we have with Historic Racing News readers and listeners, by definition those are people who understand their racing cars, but this is totally different from a Peugeot 406 you would have bought in a showroom?
All these cars are totally different. The engine block and head and the body shell is the only thing in common. As you know, these cars were built by Williams Grand Prix Engineering, TWR, ProDrive, Ray Mallock, MSD built the Peugeots. They were all top car manufacturers, and they had a budget of several million. These cars, apparently in period, were 350 to 400,000 to build 16, 17 years ago.
So every bit as much a racing car as anything else that we're going to see at Silverstone Classic.
Well, you only have to look at the lap times to realise where they are in the scale of things. If you look at some of these GT cars going around, this will just drive circles round and round a lightweight E-Type.
Which probably says it all. Patrick Watts, thank you very much indeed.